my advice for other folks is, whether it's going to be mobile home parks or self-storage or senior live, whatever your niche is, frankly, even if it's not real estate, first don't give up your day job, keep that, but, put yourself through the rigor, the discipline of building up your unofficial advisory board of people that have been there, done that, and can really advise you. And then again, see if there's some way you can get started relatively small on the side while you keep your day job. And then, of course, see if you really like it. You'll learn more. Then you can make a more informed decision about whether you're going to go through a significant career change, as I did, or maybe you just like it as a side investment and you keep your day job. You'll be able to make those decisions much better if you keep both feet in both worlds and then just see, how it really suits you.
Your network is your net worth. Come listen to some of the most successful people I know share invaluable knowledge, stories, and advice in real estate, business, and beyond. This is Weiss Advice. Whether you want to take your business or personal life to the next level, look no further. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Weiss Advice. I'm your host, Yona Weiss, and we are here to talk to ordinary people doing extraordinary things. And it is my pleasure to introduce you to our guest tonight, tonight, this morning, wherever you are in the world, it's sometime. Okay, so this is Jefferson Lilly, and Jefferson is a household name in the mobile home investing space. And he's been in the mobile home park investment for over a decade. He is the founder of Park Avenue Partners, a private equity real estate fund that acquires and operates mobile home parks nationwide. And his investment funds are returning 8 to 15% cash annually to limited partners. And we will touch a little more on that throughout the episode. So both personally and through his partnerships, he's acquired over 25 mobile home parks in 13 states since 2007. Over $56 million in value. Has that changed in the past year, Jefferson?
Yeah, we bumped that up a little bit.
We got to update that.
32 parks, 32. In 15 different states. And
I know, because we just bought 6.
Million.
Right, so we just bought 6 last year, right?
That's right. 6 last year and 1 so far this year. Yeah.
Okay, so he's also started the industry's first mobile home park podcast and the largest group on LinkedIn dedicated to investing in mobile home parks. In beginning, manage investors' money in 2014, Jefferson spent 7 years investing his own capital in mobile home parks and consulting with high net worth families with interests in manufactured housing industry. He's been featured in many publications, and I just want to jump into this because, like I said, you are a household name, and I'd love to get a little perspective from you in the mobile home park space. But beyond that, I think something really interesting. Now, you have a host of your podcast, and your podcast is called the Mobile Home Park Investors Podcast. Is that correct?
That's correct. And it has its own webpage, just mobilehomeparkinvestors.com. And that also links into the LinkedIn group and our industry calendar of events and some other good stuff there.
Right. And one of the things that impresses me the most is that, there are a lot of people that are starting podcasts right about now. This is the time to do it. Yours truly included, right?
There we go.
I'm jumping on the bandwagon.
Welcome to the club.
but you started a podcast, several years ago, right? So you've been doing this
I think it was 2015. It was about 5 years ago.
So you kind of started off early when podcasts were, hadn't caught as much steam, especially in the real estate industry.
Yeah, that's true.
What was the drive? What was the idea? What was the driving force to even start that podcast at that time when it was kind of an anomaly?
Yeah, I had someone tell me that another real estate podcast show was looking for someone to be on it that knew something about mobile home parks. So I just reached out. They had me on their show, and that did pretty well. Because we started getting some interest from prospective investors. And then actually it wasn't more than a month or two later that a podcast agent or booking agent called me to be on somebody else's podcast. I didn't even know at the time that that was even a job to,
Right.
book people on podcasts. So I went on that other show. And then at that point, it finally hit me that, well, wait a minute, maybe podcasts are going to be big. And if I'm being pulled onto other people's shows, maybe I should just do one on my own. So so that was it. It was kind of dumb luck. I wish I could say I had some huge vision, but I just sort of stumbled into it. And so we've done about 120 some odd episodes and had on all different kinds of guests. And it brings us prospective investors. It's brought us a little bit of deal flow, but primarily it brings us prospective investors that have heard our podcasts.
Amazing. And would you say, is that one of the goals of the podcast, to kind of be a voice in the industry and people who are looking to invest in real estate to look to you as a source for that?
Yeah, that's exactly it. We're happy to give back, so to speak, and give other prospective investors our thoughts on how they can run their own parks. Obviously, that doesn't pay us directly.
Right.
But there were other people, that not through podcasts, but more in person, a lot of other people that helped me get started buying mobile home parks 13 years ago. So, as I say, you can't pay it backwards, but you can pay it forwards. So that was another motivation for doing the podcast was just to help pay it forward.
Amazing. And you're based in the Bay Area, is that right?
Yeah, I live out here in San Francisco. There obviously are not too terribly many mobile home parks right in San Francisco.
That was going to be my next question.
Yeah, so I don't actually own anything in California. Wichita, Kansas has long been sort of my center of gravity. But again, I believe, in about 15 different states, but generally in the Midwest, where real estate, as you might imagine, is a little more affordable. And we're primarily cash flow investors. We pay out to our investors quarterly. And it's difficult to do that, for instance, buying any park in really any large major metro, especially on either coast. Right. So places like Wichita, Kansas, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Superior, Wisconsin, these are all places that we've found good value and bought parks that cash flow into the double digits for us.
Right. Now, you haven't always been doing mobile home parks. As we mentioned, this goes back 2007, you started. 2014, You started bringing on investors. Give me a little background. What were you doing before that?
Yeah, so I spent approximately a decade working at 3 different Silicon Valley startups. That's really what brought me out here after going to business school back east. So frankly, by the time I was on that third startup, I had been through an acquisition, actually 2 acquisitions. And, suffice it to say, none of those deals were quite the next Google. I was not a billionaire from those transactions. I'd made a bit of money, but I was still basically an employee. And of course, the stock market itself, especially tech, was gyrating. Anyway, so after being in the tech business for about 9 years or so at that point, I bought my first mobile home park just to kind of have some even cash flow and even out some of the volatility of those stock options that those startups had given me. And, to transition, it took about a year, really, for me to then move over and start doing real estate full time. So at no time did I say, hey, I'm giving up the sexy stock options and I'm just going to go do mobile home parks. I kind of had my foot in both worlds for about a year of overlap. And then that last startup wasn't doing real well. And I could see that my first mobile home park was doing reasonably well, and I was putting no time or money into it. So I kind of decided to put some time and money into it.
That's interesting. So you were full-time in startups, in tech. And, I imagine there's a lot of people listening to this who are currently, Silicon Valley, people are in tech, or they're somewhere in the world. What would be a tip you would give someone like that? I mean, obviously you started just somehow it came to you, the idea to put some money into a mobile home park of your own, right? Yeah. Not to invest with someone else, but not to buy, a single family house. What was what was that kind of mindset? And then the follow-up question is, what would you suggest to someone who is in your position today, how to get their foot in the door?
Yeah. As I say, when I woke up from the concussion, it just seemed like a good idea to buy a mobile home park. But no, more seriously. So again, I was looking for kind of more stable income, and I initially thought, well, I'll buy an apartment building, right? I was familiar with apartment buildings. At that point, I knew nothing about mobile home parks. I just figured, I've always been a big fan of Warren Buffett, and he advises people to stay within their circle of competence. So even though I had never owned real estate, at least I had lived in apartment buildings. So I just decided to look for apartment buildings. And then for instance, doing searches on like LoopNet for mobile home parks, and I knew I was not going to find cash flow in the Bay Area. So I was already looking for apartment buildings in, Peoria, Illinois, and Lubbock, Texas, and Ames, Iowa. Anyway, I would do these searches and see like 99 apartment buildings at an 8 cap. This was back in 2006. Prices are not that anymore. But back then, I'd see 99 apartment buildings at an 8 cap, and then one mobile home park at a 10 or 11 cap. For your listeners that may not know, that's basically how much cash, unlevered, you would get from the property. And again, I wish I could say I jumped right on it, but honestly, the first time I saw a mobile home park pop up under an apartment search, I thought, that's absurd. I'm not buying a mobile home park. And I deleted the search,
Right.
And then I did it again and again. And, now I probably had to get hit over the head 5 times. But finally, I decided, well, mobile home parks seem to be multifamily and they seem to pay out more money. Why don't I look into this? And so it was at that point that I started buying books, listening to tapes, just educating myself as best as I could. I set up an unofficial advisory board of about 10 individuals that all owned mobile home parks, and they would provide free advice. They were quite generous. I could bring them a deal, and they would say thumbs up or thumbs down, or Jefferson, I don't know about this one. The key issue is X. Go figure out X, and then you'll know if you want to buy that property. Certainly book learning is good. But at least for me, I learn exponentially faster when I can just sit down live with somebody that's been there, done that, and ask them all my dumb questions. So having that unofficial advisory board of about 10 guys was very helpful. So I then decided to buy a mobile home park. I spent a little over a year looking, putting in some offers, getting outbid, and then finally did close on my first property, which I still own today. And again, I bought an additional park on my own and then started raising outside capital to then buy still more parks. So my advice for other folks is, whether it's going to be mobile home parks or self-storage or senior living, whatever your niche is, frankly, even if it's not real estate, first, don't give up your day job, keep that, but, put yourself through the rigor, the discipline of building up your unofficial advisory board of people that have been there, done that, and can really advise you. And then again, see if there's some way you can get started relatively small on the side while you keep your day job. And then, of course, see if you really like it. You'll learn more. Then you can make a more informed decision about whether you're going to go through a significant career change as I did, or maybe you just like it as a side investment and you keep your day job. You'll be able to make those decisions much better if you keep both feet in both worlds and then just see, how it really suits you.
Gotcha. That's incredible advice. I totally agree. For me, learning in school was the worst, but learning apprenticing under other people and being able to talk to a real person who's doing it, real life, and you can ask like exactly you did. But my question to you is, how did you even find those people? I mean, were they people that you knew beforehand, or did you Google, mobile home park gurus?
Yeah. So it came about kind of a couple of different ways. So I did find that for my niche, there were some online communities. And so I reached out to folks that way. Sure.
Sure.
But I also just, made it a point to drop it into casual conversations that I was having with folks that, oh yeah, I'm thinking of making an investment in real estate. I'm thinking of buying a mobile home park. That was my thing. And, out here in San Francisco, where real estate tends to go for about $1,000 a foot, or more, talking to people about real estate that goes for about $10 a foot is 2 orders of magnitude difference. So I got a lot of really strange looks, but not from everyone. I remember one guy from my church just said, "Oh, that's great, Jefferson. My dad used to own a mobile home park, and that was what sent our whole family every summer to Europe for a great vacation. Here's my dad's number. Give him a call." So just that kind of, putting it out there also helped me build up those 10 guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah, one of them was a lady. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And are you still in touch with them today? Some of those people? Some
of them, yes. Yes, one of them in particular. And as I'm now in the business, I've met more people. So I now have sort of an unofficial advisory board of more like 12 people that are all experienced owners. And again, probably 8 or 9 of those people I didn't know when I got into the business. So I've kept that up, and we actually meet regularly on the beach, undisclosed top secret location, but we meet on the beach once a year for kind of 3-4 days. We rent a house, we talk. It's kind of a mastermind group. And we just sit down and talk about, what software are we using? How do we manage remotely? Hey, here's a crazy tenant story. Hey, what about this other deal? Anyway, we just get together once a year and really do. Yeah, there's certainly a little bit of beer and bourbon drinking, but it's mostly pretty solid days of real meaningful discussions for 3 or 4 days every year. And then we still do share an email sort of chat amongst the 12 of us, and on certainly a weekly basis, somebody will post out a question and we'll all kind of answer it or give our thoughts. So that's, again, really an ongoing thing throughout the year to keep in touch with those dozen other mobile home park owners.
That's amazing. I think that's really important. A lot of people talk about masterminds and that kind of a group of peers who are doing the same thing. And I think these are all incredible tips and advice for anyone looking into getting involved in real estate in any regard, or mobile home parks specifically. So, that being said, I think we're going to jump into our final 4.
Okay.
You ready for the final 4 round, Jefferson?
Fire it up, Yona.
Okay. So the first question is, what was the worst job that you ever had?
It was probably a job in high school. I was working for a catering company, which is basically restaurant work, which is neither glamorous nor well-paying. And specifically, a catering company is a restaurant on wheels. Yeah. So one of my jobs was to be lifting hot boxes with another guy, my best friend actually, into the back of trucks, full of food or dishes or plates. And it was just... It was a fair amount of fairly physical labor that didn't pay that well. Taught me the value of earning a buck. I did that for a couple of years part-time while in high school, but that's probably the worst job I've ever had, thankfully. And it's been all uphill mostly up and to the right since then.
Oh, that's good to hear. I have a good friend who owns a catering, or actually did own, in the Silicon Valley, one of the biggest catering companies. He since immigrated to Israel, but he's shared quite a few stories about the catering business. And he was on the executive level, obviously the owner, but I can imagine what it was like being the high school kid.
I was not on the executive level. Yeah.
High school, the executive.
I was on the bottom of the barrel level.
Right, the executive box lifter. So let me ask you the second question, which is, what is a book that has given you a paradigm shift?
I've really liked Snowball, which is the biography on Warren Buffett. I think it's the best biography written on Buffett. It's not just about value investing. It also covers, I think, pretty extensively his personal life and some of the trade-offs that he made to be as financially successful as he has been. That did come at some cost to his family, his relationship with his wife and his kids. So I think that was just a particularly interesting book, balanced book, and has helped me think through what trade-offs I'm willing to make, in my professional and personal lives.
Amazing. Thank you very much. I'll put that in there and hopefully check that out as well. Haven't read that one yet. We are on the Weiss Advice. We're all about learning and continue. We're lifelong learners, and we want to continuously learn, and not just information or but really skills, because I think having more skills will help you more in the future. So what is one skill or talent that you would like to learn in the future?
Yeah, I need to learn more about how to build corporate culture and build teams. As my business has grown, I've had to hire more people. I would like to have my organization, be as fun and as challenging as, people that work at places like Apple Computer and Google. And I don't think I'm there yet. So just all of the sort of building my skills around all that soft, squishy organizational behavior, organizational design stuff is a skill that I would like to learn.
Absolutely. That's a good one, and obviously necessary if you want to scale that business.
Yeah.
And the fourth and final question of the final four is, what does success mean to you?
It's really about having the flexibility to both, have a job that I very much enjoy, but also have time to spend time with my family. And, if it's a sunny afternoon on a work day and I just want to, take my kids to the park for lunch or something like that, just to have the flexibility to do that, be able to provide for my family in I certainly work hard, but it is still, some flex time. I don't have an office that I have to be at from 9 to 5 or 9 to 9.
Right.
I work from home, and just that kind of flexibility for me is success.
Amazing. Well, I wish you continued success. And if our listeners want to get a hold of you or want to find you, where can they do that?
Yeah, the best place to find out more about me and our funds is simply parkavenuepartners.com. I believe at the bottom of that page, there's a simple intake form. You can send me a message there. Connect with me on LinkedIn as well. I think I'm the only Jefferson Lilly on LinkedIn. And then also at the top of our parkavenuepartners.com webpage, you can just click a link and sign up for our mailing list. And we don't mail more than about once a month, maybe a little less. But that's another way to just keep in touch with us and find out about the mobile home parks we're buying and the next fund that we're going to launch, hopefully late this year, 2020, and just keep in touch with us.
Sounds good. Thank you very much, Jefferson. It's been a pleasure. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to join us today, and wishing you a wonderful day and healthy, happy, and success.
Thank you, Yona.
Real quick, I have one question for you. Did you like this episode? If you did, I want to ask you a huge favor. See, the biggest thing that helps this podcast grow and that will spread this message to the whole world is that if you leave a review, a rating, and subscribe to the podcast. What that does is it basically tells the platforms that this podcast is out on is that you like my stuff and I'm doing something right. So take a few seconds out of your day, hit that subscribe button, leave a rating or review. I would be extremely grateful. Also, I want to hear from you guys. So I want to hear some feedback. If you have any questions for future episodes, please find me on LinkedIn. Send me a DM, a connection request, Yona Weiss, and I'd love to hear from you.